Hello, good morning. How are you? It is Tuesday. It's 8:15 and it's the 9th of August. And although it's the height of what we think of being a summer, there's an ever so slight autumnal tinge to the morning. A little bit chilly, hence my cardi. It's weird, isn't it? We're in the middle of our summer holidays and straight away we're pushing ourselves on to the next season. And I've been watching loads of my favourite YouTubers who tend to be American, and I think all their children have gone back to school now, so I'm looking at all their videos that they're posting and they've all got autumn themes to them. So just hanging on for summer for a little bit longer. And I think it's the summer holidays that bring forward thoughts of autumn. And we used to spend lots of our summer holidays when my daughter was little in caravan parks. And you certainly know when you're living in a caravan that it's getting towards autumn time with that tinge in the morning. It's just hard to believe that the season's moving on and it's only just August. So hello and welcome. First of all, hope you can hear me okay. I've definitely got my green light on there. So if you're watching, do leave me a comment. Let me know whereabouts in the world you are and what's the weather forecast where you are and what your summer holiday plans are or what your back to school plans are. So I'm in my garden today and I've got a couple of things that I need to do. So first of all, I am going to cut some flowers in the garden. I'm going to aim for these sweet peas. They're getting really, well, the stems are short, but they're getting really leggy and they're starting to, at the base, I guess it's just the end of the natural season, but they've got a definite sort of burnt out look to them. So what I thought I would do was to put them in this little vase, which I got from the charity shop recently. So I don't know whether you watch my regular Monday afternoon videos, but I'm pretty sure that made it onto this week's thrift haul video. So what I'll do, if you haven't already watched that, when this video's gone live, I'll make sure I link that to the bottom. So it's a little glass vase made for hyacinth bulbs, but I thought I would use it as a vase. But before I do, I've noticed, I thought I'd cleaned it off properly. I've taken the label off here, but there's still lots of sticky residue. So what I'm doing is taking some essential oil, and I've got a grapefruit one here, and I'm going to put a few dabs of essential oil onto my cloth and then use that to take away the residue. And this works so easily. Of course, you can't really see that. And it gives a lovely scent as well. So I'm not spending money on any of those sticky stuff remover bottles you can buy. Sometimes I use white spirit, which my dad recommended, but white spirit definitely has a very industrial smell to it, and this one smells much nicer. So there we go. So before I start, I'm going to put some water into my container so I don't forget. That's probably a bit too much water. There we go. Oh, that's just lovely. That citrusy smell just smells really clean and fresh. So if you've been following me on Instagram and a member of my Facebook group, you know I've been away for a few days and we've had a lovely time over in the Cotswolds, and I'll tell you more about that later. So it's a circuitous way of saying I have no cup of tea with me this morning, although this is iced tea. I've made some hibiscus tea and topped it up with sparkling water, and the reason for that is that our milk had gone off. We had a 2 or 4 pint container in the fridge which was part opened, and my daughter last night said, I don't think this milk is right, and I said, well, I've just had some, it seemed fine. And then I made my cup of tea this morning and I put the milk into the tea and it did that horrible separation thing. So I washed the can out and put that in recycling, got out the unopened bottle of milk, and it did exactly the same thing. So I don't quite know what everyone's going to have for breakfast this morning. We are normally a cereal kind of family, although I'm trying to wean myself off cereal and having toast in the morning. And I've actually got some fruits of the forest defrosting in a bowl, and I was going to have that with Greek yogurt. But again, that's Greek yogurt that was opened before our holiday, so I'm not entirely sure whether that's going to be okay. We'll just have to wait and see. That's all the joy, isn't it, of coming home from your holidays that things are just not quite the same as normal. One thing I did notice though, I'm just looking at the honeybee on my cut flowers, is there's no poster open. Remember when you used to go on a holiday in yesteryear and you'd open the front door and then you'd have all the posts to step over, and it'd be a little bit like Christmas, sorting out into piles which belonged to which and which was to be communally opened or addressed to Mr. and Mrs. So there was absolutely no posts, so it was just a case of unpack the suitcases, unpack the bags, sort out the washing, charge everything that would need to be charged. My husband went straight out into the garden to water the vulnerable plants, and that was the end of the beginning of the holiday. So there we go. So today's task, I'm going to take I'm sitting here in the garden in my fluffy fluffy slippers again. What I thought would be really nice, because it is chilly underfoot, is actually to walk on the grass barefoot. Don't they call that grounding, if we were being all hyper into mindfulness and relaxation? But my slippers are so warm and cosy, I could be indoors or outdoors, and in fact I shouldn't be outdoors in my slippers, but they are so comfy that I am using them slightly as, don't tell anyone, garden shoes as well. Otherwise you're forever changing your shoes, aren't they? I do normally walk around the garden in barefoot. Sometimes I have a pair of flip-flops by the back door. But I thought, as I picked my flowers this morning, it might be quite nice just to ground myself. So just taking a moment to be still and be quiet. Rather annoyingly, I don't know whether you can hear it, I've got the back door open and we have our washing machine set on timer so that it uses the electricity from our solar panels, and therefore we can run it at no energy cost to us. But it's just got that really annoying going on in the background. So I hope that you can't hear that. So let's go picking. So trusty scissors to hand. It doesn't matter what scissors you use when you go out and cut from your garden. You just need to make sure they're a nice sharp pair. So whether that's the kitchen scissors, secateurs, or your floristry scissors. So let's go. Ooh, there's a little bit of a breeze, a little bit of sunlight. So I'm going to be really bold when I cut these. Keep forgetting the name, sweet peas. And I'm aiming for pieces 30 centimetres long. I don't care whether I haven't got many stems on it, many flowers. I'm just gonna go for it and have a mass, a tangled mass of flowers. Now I'm wondering whether that little vase I've got is going to be too small. But I thought it would be quite nice to use, instead of buying something and never putting it to use. Doesn't that look fabulous? Actually, what these might have looked really nice in, and I have still got a chance to swap it out, is my my glass, what I'm calling my celery vase. So I don't know whether you spotted that in yesterday's video. And in fact, as I say celery vase, if you were following along with me in my Facebook group, you'll have seen a holiday cottage I stayed in had not a celery vase, but a fruit bowl, a footed container, a compote in a very similar design. And then when I got home yesterday, I thought, actually, I've got a bowl like that. It's just sitting, sometimes you buy things and they just sit out on the side and you forget about them. Your brain doesn't see them. That's why I like moving all my vases, container and home decor round a bit, so you notice it again. But I reckon I need to put these containers side by side. I've got a low oval fruit bowl style pressed glass container with little handles. So I've kind of got myself into a theme, really, without knowing it. Or perhaps I was attracted or only noticed the bowl in the holiday cottage because I had one already. It's like learning a new word, isn't it? You learn a new word and then you seem to see it everywhere. And it's the same with my vases. You see one and then you see them absolutely everywhere. So this is a little bit of a tangled mess. So as I pull them off the little wigwam frame here, trying to make sure that I do that reasonably gently with a little bit of a tug. I've got one here growing practically horizontally. Oops, I think I've snapped that one. So there's still a little bit of colour on there, and in fact we seem to be having quite a lot of success with our sweet peas. They look lovely. In previous years, they've done nothing at all. So I don't know whether it's the hot spell of weather been really good for them. So it is just, it almost looks like, you know, when you can get that wild sweet pea, it's a very bright pink. Doesn't last very long in a vase, but if you ever do try and cut any, it is very much in a sort of tangled mess. So I'm going to now, with my floristry and flower arranging skills, tame the tangled mess to then put them into a vase so it looks like a very natural tangled arrangement. So in order to do that, I think I just need to adjust the camera angle a little bit so you can see what I'm doing on my table here. Can you see my tabletop? I think you can there. You might be ever slightly wobbly. So drink. So the flowers look really nice en masse, but when you see them up front, they're looking like they're in a little bit of a sorry state. So with my compost bucket to the side, I'm going to go through, I have to recut that stem, cut off the side shoots, which are going to be inside the vase, because I don't want those to, once they're in the water, they start to rot, and the bacteria that helps with the rotting process will reduce the life of my flowers. Not that I think that these will have a particularly long life, but it's just all about trying to get what you have got to last as long as possible. I'm getting rid of that because there's nothing on those shoots there. Put that down there. So if I wasn't talking to you, I'd be doing this not in silence. Silence sounds like I'm being punished, but it would be something you can do and just let your mind drift off. I even quite like, I don't know whether the microphone's picking it up, the snip, snip, snip sound of the scissors. So if you are watching, is there anything you'd like to ask me about my holiday? We went to the Cotswolds, which is an absolutely beautiful part of the country. Can you see the peas, the seed pods starting to develop on there? We had a lovely time and the weather was just perfect. So for us Brits, when we go on holiday, we always pack an umbrella and our wet weather gear and never go out of the cardigan without a cardigan. And it was so lovely to go out. And we just went out in, you know, our summer dresses and our shorts and t-shirt. No emergency backup in terms of alternative gear, wet weather gear. It's just so lovely to have a period of really reliable weather. We did a couple of walks. Went to Blenheim Palace. And then on the way home, we went to the most amazing farm shop, which wasn't so much a farm shop as a whole home, restaurant, decorative living building. And we made a special point of going there because a friend of mine had recommended it, but also because I was trying to work out how to get there and wanting to find a postcode for the sat-nav. I followed the farm, Dalesford Farm Organics, on Instagram, and lo and behold, the morning that we were thinking of going, I had a look on it. Well, I just turned my phone on, looked on Instagram, and it had a reel there of a florist making a hand-tied bouquet. And I looked at this reel, and I thought, I recognise that lady. It turned out it was Leslie. They'd named her as Leslie. And I thought it must be the same Leslie. When I was at Hadlow College, I was trained by a lady called Leslie. And she now works at the farm shop, overseeing all their flower arranging classes. And so I went to the workshop. I went to the farm. And rather bravely for me, I saw a lady there who was obviously working in the floristry department, and I asked whether Leslie worked there, And she said, yes, she did, but it happened to be her day off, so she wasn't there. So the lady said that she would pass my good wishes on. I thought she's never going to remember my name, not with all the students that she would have worked with over the years. But you never know, it was quite nice. You know, I felt like I caught up with her, even though we didn't actually see each other. We have bumped into each other once before, and that was at a flower festival at Guildford Cathedral, I think. And she was taking some of her current students around there. But it's nice, isn't it? It's finding out what people are doing. People move on, don't they? Nice to find out what they're up to. So can you see how I am just, you know, slightly constraining what I had, but it's still looking like a very casual arrangement. So it doesn't always have to be neat and petite and following all your floristry rules. And in fact, sometimes the rules can be, you know, too restrictive. If you think, oh, I can't arrange my flowers because I can't remember what the rules are, really what I'm doing here is a cut and plonk. So this looks probably slightly messy because I've got all the background behind me. But if I've got where I normally put my flowers in my dining room, it's got a grey wall, so everything looks very, it really makes the flowers stand out. So I've got a white vase against the grey background, and then the bluey tones of the motif here and the purpley blues of the sweet peas as well. So I've just got this sort of nice bit of natural movement really packed into the vase. And you just need to make sure that everything is in water. So that was a bit loose, something there, but you'll soon know if it's not in water, because it'll be that one single stem that goes brown or suddenly for no reason just flops down, and all you need to do then is just squeeze your flowers to one side, and then you can sort of put your finger down there and then drip the water in, and as soon as your finger gets wet you'll know that you've got enough water in there. So I'm going to go back into the garden again, because I've brought with me a carrier bag. Can you guess what the little paper bag is for? So I recycle whenever you go shopping. Obviously now with the tax on plastic bags, we don't get offered plastic bags in the same way as we did before, which is really, really good. So I've been to quite a few things lately where the bag that you get is a paper bag. So I normally save these, and if I've got things to return to people, I've got a cup that I borrowed from a friend. It had a lovely pudding in it, so I've eaten the pudding and I've washed the cup up and I've put the cup somewhere really safe, but I'll need to return it at some point, and what I normally do is get one of my little bags and put it in there and return it. So I'm going to be using this bag because I'm going to collect something in it. So can you see what I am going to, what do you reckon I'm going to collect? So I'm going to trot back and dive into the flower bed, and then I'll come back and see whether you think you guessed the right thing. So here goes. Or I can even see cobwebs, actually, I tell you. When we came back, I've discovered we've got a sofa in front of the bay window, and I looked in there last night and I was thinking, it doesn't take long, does it, before the spiders take over? There was this absolutely beautiful and very, very fine cobweb, not the sort of flat one that you normally get, but one that was more sort of fluffy, and I can see there's a classic cobweb here. It does look very autumnal, quite Halloweeny, because the stem of the flower I want to pick is actually brown, and I'm just catching in the sunlight. What I think I'm going to do is go round that way and then come back. So just bear with me a little bit. All the grass is lovely and springy and quite cool to the touch. So here we go. This is what I was after. And these are, even if I sat down, I've now got poppy seeds everywhere over the table. So these poppy heads have dried naturally on the stem in the garden. I've still got some that are flowered and are green, and I would say ideally that I would pick them in the green state and let them dry indoors, but it doesn't particularly matter. And I did notice as well that some of these stems were bent over, and I don't know whether that's something my husband has done because he wants the seeds to drop onto the earth, or whether the birds have been eating them and they've snapped under the weight. I don't know whether you can see there. There's a little hole where something has pecked through and eaten the stems. So the idea here is, without shattering too many of the stems, is that I'm going to cut the flowers to length, because the poppy stems are really, really long, and then gather them up into my hand, and with my paper bag I'm going to upend, even if I don't know whether you can see that. Can you see the stem, the seeds coming out? That's absolutely incredible how many seeds you get. So to upend them all, to collect the seeds, and then I can hang these up indoors. So if these were still the green variety and needed to dry, I could upend them all into my bag and then hang them on the hook on my peg rail, and it sort of looks decorative and purposeful at the same time. And that's why, if you're drying poppies, I wouldn't just dry them. The classic thing to do is air dry them, and you bundle them upside down. But if you do want to catch the seeds, you need to have a bag to do that. But also they do tend to shatter anyway, and you just don't want those seeds going all over your kitchen floor or wherever you happen to be drying your poppies. So these leaves, I'm just getting rid of them, cutting to approximate length. I've probably cut them to about 30 or 40 centimetres long. But it's certainly a much tidier job to do when they're still in their green state. And then, because I've got the bag with the handles, I'm just going to hook that over the peg rail in my kitchen, so it doesn't look as if I've just, live in a flower drying factory. It looks pretty. So if I get rid of those leaves that are on the table, I've got choices then. What am I going to do with these seed heads that have landed on the table? I could sweep them into my hand. I could gather them up like salt and throw them over my shoulder for good luck. What I might do is put these into the bag as well. So poppies grow best on disturbed soil. So what I'll probably do when I plant my spring flowering bulbs, I normally have them growing indoors, and then I plant them out after they're flowered in order that I can have them outdoors for a year. And when I've sort of churned up the soil to do my planting, that would be when I would probably scatter the poppy seed heads around. So that's another little job done there. Now there's one more thing that I want to do, and that is to look at my flowers that I arranged last week. Do you remember I got the champagne bucket out? And rather miraculously, these flowers have lasted really well. Actually, remember that was the front. Was that the front? Or was that the front? I reckon that one must have been the front. I've taken a few flowers out because they had died off. And when I've had a closer look, I think I do need to get rid of that central zinnia and some of the dahlias as well. And I have topped the water up. So last night when I got home, what I actually did is I flushed the water out. So I didn't want to take the flowers out of the container. So I haven't had the opportunity of recutting the stems. Thank you. You're saying that looks lovely. Thank you there. So what I did is I got a watering can. I just held the watering can over the container, and it filled with water, but in doing so it sort of flushed out all the standing water in the bottom of the vase. I don't want to have to take the whole arrangement apart, recut all the stems. So this might not last particularly long, but really it's lasted me a week on my south-facing patio. I think it's done a pretty good job. But because I have got some zinnias and a few dahlias that could do with, I want to cut them. If I have them on the garden, they're a place where I don't normally walk past, I don't particularly see them. So I might, again, do you remember, I think I used about 15 stems to create this arrangement last week. I've taken out the ones, now I've turned it around, I found another one that's gone over, another dahlia. The dahlias for me don't seem to last very well, but I'm pleasantly surprised about how long the zinnias seem to last. They look like a really delicate flower, but they do seem to last really well. So let's go and discover. Well, I have to give you a running commentary because I can't take you with me. Let's have a look and see what we've got in terms of the zinnias. So, there's a lovely pink one there, so I'm cutting it really down low. I've just seen some comments pop up, but I'm too far away to read them, so I will have to wait until the video gets uploaded later on today, and then I can check back on the live chat. Now I'm struggling here a little bit. One of those zinnias has got choked with bindweed a little bit, so I'm going to have to be a little bit careful. So I've come back with 5 zinnias. We have so much bindweed in our garden. It's just so annoying. And as my husband said, if it was difficult to grow, everybody would want it. It does have those really lovely little white flowers. So take off the stems and then slide those into the vase just wherever I want. So I'm sort of constantly twirling my container around so it looks good in all directions, although I must admit the best look to this vase is from my view from the kitchen. It's sort of, my kitchen is my second little office, and I do like to, in moments of pondering, I like to look to one side and see what my flowers are doing. So this one here is quite tall. Do I want it that tall? Of course I could, should I cut it short? It's quite nice sometimes to have a flower that comes up a little bit higher. Is it too high? Possibly it might be too high. I don't like seeing loads of stem. I like seeing the variation in height, but not always a really, really tall stem. You don't want these, your flowers here, then straight up and then another flower at the top. You kind of want to, a little bit of recession, as we call it. Some low set flowers, some higher set flowers, some contrast like that. So just where I had a gap because I pulled things out of the arrangement. And you really like how the colour pops. Yes, I did take a finger length out. Yes, that seems to be my standard unit of measurement. Just everything's measured between finger and thumb or finger length. And if I went back into the pot, that probably is exactly how much I took off. And because I've arranged this in scrunched up chicken wire, I can slide things in that. Now, as I'm looking around, you don't have to be overly precious about this, but as I'm looking here, I'm twisting it around and I've got these 2 flowers really close together, and I don't like that because there's not much in my vase. So what I'm going to do is I'm taking the flower out, but I don't have to take it all the way out. I've lifted it and it's got a curve on this flower. I'm just thinking if I rotate the flower around slightly, whether that will give a little bit of separation. So now the flowers are separated out a little bit, whereas before they were crashing together. So when you don't have many flowers in your arrangement, you kind of want each one to stand out on its own a little bit. And then you can see my sedum. I'm seeing that as a dead space in my arrangement, really. So perhaps when I finish filming, I might cut another flower and put it through there. It's just like a hand area of space. Thank you. I would say your name. I can't. Banderina. I can't quite. My varifocals aren't up to reading, speaking, and all at the same time. So I did say with my container that I knew which way was the right way, because whatever way I put it, I wanted the handles to be at the front. So I think that way is the way I'm going to have it angled towards my kitchen window. Now the last thing I'm going to do, which might necessitate me moving the camera a little bit, is when we went away for a few days, I went to some real live shops. So I don't really like shopping, and what I tend to do if I'm going shopping is that I either go to car boot fairs or I go to charity shops, or I'm trying to get braver and braver and go to antique shops, having decided that an antique shop is just really a charity shop, but everything in there is slightly more expensive. But I think I did notice, and again, I'm not really up on the trends, I went to several sort of home decor lifestyle shops, and it was all about laying your summer table for entertaining, and there were absolutely beautiful linen napkins, some with embroidery on it, some with checked napkins, and I think gingham must be fashion at the moment. You might have seen me prancing around in my green gingham dress. And one of the, I said right at the beginning, you sometimes get attracted to things you've already seen already. I guess your brain is trying to make connections with things. So I kept getting drawn to the napkins and tablecloths, which were in shades of pink, like a pink gingham, quite a big check to the pink. And as you do, they've got all the fancy prices, and you turn them over thinking, oh, is that how much it is? And turning it back again and walking on. And these napkins, I think the napkins are about £12 or £15 each, but the tablecloths, because they were bigger, were about £90. I was thinking, oh my goodness. But we were visiting a very wealthy part of the country, and then it got me thinking that I may not have a pink check napkin, but I do have a tablecloth. I do have a pink striped tablecloth, and this is actually another charity shop find, and this probably is 10 years old to me, and I bought it from a charity shop that no longer exists in town. They used to raise money for Alsatian dogs, and it was my favourite charity shop in town because it was way the cheapest, but you had to be quite brave to go in. It was all very dark and dingy, slightly smelly, and absolutely chock-a-block. And I bought this. It's actually a sheet, and it cost me 10p, and I thought, wouldn't that look really great as my nod to expensive life in the Cotswolds? I may not have a pink checked tablecloth, but I had stripy seersucker, so what I might do is move you over there just for a little bit, and then we can, it's like playing house for real here. So I'm just going to do it on that half of the table, and then bring back in my flowers. So I've got these little wooden blocks that I picked up at the charity shop. I quite like putting my flowers on those. It sort of grounds them a little bit. So you can have the best view of the flowers there. And then another wooden block. And I've actually got here sunflowers, and I've picked all the petals off my sunflowers. And then further down, it looks a bit like I'm going to a village show displaying these, but it just, you've just got the look a little bit. And again, it's changing things up a little bit. I absolutely love my scrubbed pine table, but just to change things up a little bit, whip the tablecloth off, and enjoy things. So I think probably I'm going to leave it there. So I've gone for a slightly pink theme today. I've got stripes on my top, my pink flowers here, my pink tablecloth, and my hibiscus pink iced tea. So thank you so much for joining me live this morning. And if you're watching on replay, well done for getting to the end of the video. So when the video uploads, I'll make sure I put a link to yesterday's thrift haul video, and I'll leave you my details on my free Facebook group, Flower Start World, and also my Instagram, which is Flower Start with an underscore at the end. So if you have enjoyed the video, don't forget to give it a like, leave me a comment, and subscribe to my channel. Throughout the summer months, I'm going to be coming live 8:15 British Summer Time on a Tuesday morning, and I usually post a pre-recorded video on Mondays at 3 o'clock. So I'll just say cheers, and whatever you're doing today, I hope you have a great day. Thanks for joining me. Cheerio.